Well, let's get to Survivor Series. Meltzer's going to say that you were the only person who got in the way of the match being a complete nightmare. Meaning that your work was so good that you were able to carry some of the less able folks involved in the match. I don't know if that's fair when you've got a worker like Jake Roberts on the other side, but it does raise an interesting point. You're teamed with the Warlord, Barbarian, and Zeus for this. All lovely human beings, I'm sure. But none of them are close to being considered the kind of worker that you were at this
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
I think that most people would probably categorize Warlord and Zeus as extremely bad in-ring workers. And I don't mean any disrespect, but they just weren't adept as in-ring performers. So with all that being said, does this kind of pairing add a lot of pressure to you as the lone workforce heel in the match? Like, did you feel pressure going into a situation like this?
Well, I mean, I don't know that I felt a lot of pressure. I mean, this guy. I mean, Marcus, we wrestled every night.
Mm.
It's like this is just another show, and this is the way we're going to do it, and this is the way we'll get through it. Bottom line is, everybody did their part, but at the end of the day, it's I guess you would say the two captains of the teams that are going to carry the load.
Yes.
So.
And that's certainly how it went here. A lot of fans can go back and watch the match, and for the most part, it's like you're the most active participant in the match, as it should be.
Yeah.
Zeus is eliminated early, as he should be. He gets disqualified for like choking Hogan or something, and that's the end of him. So that works out okay. But yeah, it just makes sense to have you kind of carry the action. Let Zeus and Barb come in and do their thing, or Warlord and Barb come in and do their thing. But for the most part, it's going to be you kind of working with the baby faces.
Yeah.
Ted, if you can believe it, both Barb and Warlord are still active in the ring, and both have wrestled here this year in 2024. Pretty remarkable, huh?
That is pretty remarkable. But it's kind of like, it's also a little bit funny because, here's two great big brutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're still two great big brutes. And it's kind of like, nothing against I personally like both of those guys, but those guys, they weren't the guys out there bumping around like Jake and I did. Putting our bodies out there, basically. It's kind of like, they could probably wrestle another, for the amount of work they did in the ring, they could wrestle another 10 years.
There is some irony there. It's like guys like you and Jake, these very like polished in-ring performers, and it's like your careers have been over. But these guys, you're right, they weren't taking a whole lot of bumps, and it shows. They're still out there able to work at their age.
Yeah, if you want to call it that.
they go to the ring. I don't know if they work.
Yeah, they go to the ring and do what? They kick somebody's butt, right?
Right? That's probably about it. Get tagged in real quick, beat the guy up, tag back
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Hey, but man, both those guys are great guys.
Yes, no disrespect whatsoever.
Not at all. Not at all.
I do want to ask you about Barb a little bit. He's a name that we probably aren't going to discuss here a ton on the show, so it feels like now's our chance. Did you get to spend much time around Barbarian, and what do you think of him?
Yeah, Barb's okay. I mean, locker room, on the road, stuff like that. In the hotel, maybe. I can't remember whether I saw him at, he wasn't like he wasn't, he wasn't going to the bars every night or what, I don't know.
I know that you were buddies with Ming, Haku, so that's why it made me wonder, because those two are close affiliates. And
again, now Haku, that's Tonga.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tonga Fafita.
What a great
He's from the island of Tonga, and God bless him. He is such a nice guy, because you wouldn't want a guy that's as tough as him to be anything other than a nice guy. So, yeah. I mean, Tonga's one of those guys that, he can be in the room by himself whenever he wanted to be.
Man, it makes you wonder what a guy like that could have done if UFC had been a thing back in those days. Like if he had decided to become an Ultimate Fighter, it's like, who the hell's going to beat that guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, for the finish at Survivor Series, Virgil's going to come out and distract Jake, and then you'd nail Jake with the fist drop and put your feet on the ropes to pin him before you yourself would be defeated by Hogan, and the crowd gets to go home happy. So a nice way for the baby faces to get over, but then also your program with Jake is continuing. There is something I found a little bit odd about this, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to speak to it or not. I'm just curious about your opinion. This match was billed as the main event, but it goes on second to last. So Ted, if you had to guess, why do you think it's Hogan and Zeus? The story for No Holds Barred is being built up. It's Ted DiBiase involved in this main event. It doesn't close the show. Do you have if you were to guess at it, why do you think that would be the case?
Yeah, I don't know.
Weird, isn't it? All I
So
can think. Go ahead.
okay, what was so what was billed as the main event?
Well, the main event is the Ultimate Warriors, which is the team of the Ultimate Warrior, Jim Neidhart, Shawn Michaels, and Marty Jannetty against the Heenan family, which is Bobby Heenan, Andre the Giant, Haku, and Arn Anderson. So there's your main event. So I don't know, maybe it's just the fact that it's Warrior and Andre that Vince is like, let's put that on last.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, look, I am glad that we brought up the main event here, Ted, because there is an interesting note, and this is how we're going to close out the show tonight. So the main event is changed, and it's changed in pretty controversial fashion. I just laid out that it's Bobby Heenan and Haku and Arn Anderson and Andre, which might make you wonder, where was Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson's tag team partner? Well, on the way, Tully Blanchard is going to fail a drug test before this event. And he himself is going to go on to say that he failed it a week or two prior, but they wanted to beat him up on TV before letting him go. So Heenan is going to replace him in this match, and Tully's career on a large stage in wrestling as a result of this comes to an end. I had mentioned earlier in the podcast that Arn and Tully, they gave their notice to Vince, and they're going back to the NWA, and they got a package deal as a tag team. So once Jim Herd catches wind that Tully has failed a drug test, he pulls back on the contract. So Tully's contract is gone. And by the way, Arn, now you're not coming in with your tag team partner, so I'm going to pay you about half of what I originally offered. So Arn Anderson gets screwed on this deal. Tully Blanchard essentially never works on a big stage in wrestling again. He'll do some indie stuff. He'll show up once in WCW. I think he does ECW. And that's it for Tully Blanchard's career. So Ted, I say all that to say, boy, Vince is not shy about just kind of pushing a button and carpet bombing a guy's career, is he?
Well, no, I mean it's kind of like, but again, if you follow the rules, it's not that hard to figure out.
You make a really good point. And something that I think goes under the radar a little bit is like everybody's like, oh man, Vince, he's so vindictive. He wanted to bury Tully because he gave him his notice and now he's leaving. And all of a sudden Vince decides to screw him on his way out the door. And it's like, well, he would not have been able to screw him if Tully hadn't done some cocaine.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's.
Well, Tully is, I know that he was your quarterback at West Texas State. And again, this is kind of the end of his career. Would you say that you were buddies with him, or, when you hear that his career's kind of come to a close?
I have no issues with Tully today. Tully is actually, you talk about a guy who did a turnaround, it goes all the way back to, I came to West Texas State, as a freshman, and I played football there for 3 years. And then the only reason, it's the summer between my junior and senior years, that summer where everything in wrestling went so good that I didn't go back and finish,
Mm-hmm.
but again, and that's where I first met Tully. Because Tully came in there my sophomore year, and he came in as the quarterback, right?
Yes.
But all my buddies are coming to me, and they're going, "What's up with this asshole? Like who does he think he is? You know what I'm saying?"
Yes.
And so, yeah, he might have been the quarterback, but he was not well liked.
Tully, a changed man. I've had the pleasure of being around him a few times, and I like him. Seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah, he is.
However, would you say that during his time in the WWF, there was still some of that prick Tully Blanchard in him?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. And like his dad was a promoter, Joe Blanchard. Uh, ran shows in South Texas where Tully's from, and and I can't remember where Tully went first, but he didn't make it there, so they sent him to West Texas State, and he was our quarterback, and and he was just a little prick, and I can't remember how long ago it happened, but somewhere along the way, you know, uh, Tully found the Lord, and now Tully Blanchard lives in San Antonio. His pastor is John Hagee, who I have a world of respect for, and Tully is in charge of the prison ministry for uh, uh, Pastor Hagee's church, and which is, I think, is called Cornerstone. And so that's what Tully's doing today. He's in charge of the prison ministry and just kicking butt and taking names, changing lives. And that's great. Only God, you know what? Only God can change a man.
And
Only
I'm a big fan of
God.
Tully Blanchard and his work. A big fan of him as a person nowadays too. I think he's a great guy.
Yeah,
Um,
he is.
and I think that he himself said that this whole happening for him is what directly led to him developing a relationship with God. Is kind of like the bottom fell out. All of a sudden he's been on TV for years and years, and now it's like all he's able to get are indie bookings. And I think that it forced him to kind of have a hard look at himself.
Yeah, yeah,
So blessing in disguise, maybe.
yeah, yeah. So I remember, I hadn't seen, and I didn't see a lot of Tully, and I went down. I did a Comic Con in San Antonio, and I asked somebody. I said, Cornerstone Church here, John Hagee's church. I said, I just wanted to know if there was somebody that could take me to church Sunday morning, go to church, go to the service, and go back and then start at the Comic Con. But and little did I know when I walked up to the front door, who's standing there greeting people? Tully.
How about that?
Unbelievable.
How about that?
That was so cool. So
Very cool.
yeah,
Very cool. Yeah, proof positive that people can change, man.
absolutely.